Hello and welcome to the Hybrid Warfare Analytical Group's UCMC podcast, where our analysts convene to delve into the realms of Russian disinformation, propaganda, and the influence of hybrid warfare in 2024. In these short podcast episodes, no longer than 20 minutes, the team explores recent observations, analysis, sharing expert opinions and conclusions on the challenges within the information sphere today. And today we will centre this conversation around Putin's visit to North Korea. I'm your host, Matt Wickham, and I am joined by Nastya, Anton, and Volodymyr, analysts of UCMC. So it was Putin's first state visit to North Korea since 2000 to meet with his counterpart, the leader of the repressive and terrorist regime, Kim Jong-un. The pictures and messages I was seeing all over Russian propaganda channels were a classic hyping up of a rather humiliating situation for Putin and the Russian people. Putin's need to, let's say, beg North Korea for more arms shows just how many years he is pulling back the country by continuing Russia's illegal and unprovoked war on Ukraine. And the welcome, I don't know about you guys, but that was rather sickening for me, over the top and quite cringe to see how the welcome was and to see how the Kremlin-backed channels were loving it. Nastya, tell me more about the reaction of Russian propaganda to Putin's visit. We'll start with you today. Hello.
Hello, Matt. I think in this case we should start with Russian peace plan, because it was really the start. And Russian propaganda serving Putin's peace plan is formulated in just one sentence: where does our peace formula end and the nuclear doctrine begin? And Putin's visit to North Korea was intended to indicate Russia's strong position in the war against Ukraine, having previously put forward its demands for a ceasefire and the start of negotiation. The Kremlin has turned to threats and blackmail in these demands are not met. At a meeting with Vladimir Putin in Pyongyang, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un expressed full support for Russia's war in Ukraine and promises to strengthen strategic cooperation with Moscow. The Kremlin, in turn, emphasized mutual defense in the new treaty, which assists each country in the event of external aggression. Putin continues to use relaterally attack tactic, accusing the West of violating international obligations by supplying arms to Ukraine. And the two leaders described their new partnership as the strongest treaty ever to create a new multipolar world, as a classic narrative in Russian propaganda, in Russian agenda. In addition to Russia's threat to the West, threats to South Korea in the case of continued aid to Ukraine can also be seen in Russian propaganda rhetoric, as well as justifying the constant nuclear blackmail from North Korea and criticizing the sanctions against it. However, despite all declarations of strength and readiness to continue the war, the reality shows otherwise. Russia's support from countries like North Korea does not compensate for the loss of partners at the global level. Support from international organizations, economic unions, and most developed countries is gradually decreasing, weakening Russia on the diplomatic and economic fronts. And those statements about strength and readiness to continue the war are more propaganda rhetoric and intimidation and disinformation than an accurate reflection of Russia's capabilities. And the path to peace consists of fulfilling international norms, respecting Ukraine's sovereignty, and cessation of aggression.
Cool. Perfect. Thank you very much, Nastya. And let's move on to Anton. Anton, tell us a little bit about South Korea's reaction to this. And what does this mean for Ukraine? Does this mean South Korea will change its kind of approach to how much and the volumes of aid it's going to give Ukraine? What has been said since then, and how has the Kremlin reacted to the recent news?
Okay, thank you, Matt, for the question. And of course, we are talking about the change of approach to Ukrainian-South Korea relations. And as you know, today's Korean government political system is forbid to export military lethal weapon to the countries that are in the state of war. And if we talk about nowadays situation, we can talk about beginning of the export to Ukraine. So if we talk about the positions most desired by the Ukrainian defense forces, then of course artillery shells is number one top priority. And it is worth noting that South Korea was already the guarantor of the supply of shells to Ukraine, because United States stocks were replenished with the Korean ones, and then American shells were supplied to Ukraine. But as we know, direct supply without some kind of circular exchange can potentially reduce the price of shells for Ukraine or Ukrainian partners, and also avoid constant dependence on the United States aid. So I would rather point out that it is crucial in the context of the upcoming elections in the United States, which can change support level of Ukraine. So supply diversification is good for the saturation of the Ukrainian army with weapons. And however, missiles or shells are not the only one South Korea can share or sell to Kyiv. And South Korea has a certain amount of tanks and armored fighting vehicles of the Soviet and Russian production, which these tanks and vehicles fall out from the general picture of the Korean army, and so they can this military equipment can be almost painlessly transferred to Ukraine for use, or in the form of spare parts for repairing broken tanks and vehicles. Also, Korean-made artillery system K9 Thunder and air defense systems also interesting for the Ukrainian armored force. Moreover, I think that Korean-made tanks can become the subject of a conversation about supplies, because it's including Korean K2, the newest tank Black Panther, and older versions of the tank K1. And I think that it could become a subject because K2 tanks are now in service in Poland army. So their transfer can be made in the terms of circular exchange with Poland and South Korea.
So very much the agreement between Russia and North Korea has also opened up these opportunities for Ukraine to receive more weapons, more arms as well. And what will be provided to Russia from North Korea will kind of be mirrored by hopefully South Korea as well, which could be very useful, obviously, for the Ukrainian military and for the West in order so they could provide other equipment. Thank you, Adam. And to bring Volodymyr into the conversation today as well. Volodymyr, talk to us, please, about the agreement between North Korea and Russia. Are there any points which are more worrisome, and what is most significant for you from the agreement?
On the top of the agenda was obviously the issue of armaments and weaponry supplies to Russia. And we know that North Korea obtained a large amount of Soviet-type tanks and armored vehicles, which Russia feel a lack of. If Russia is going to prepare new units and mobilize large amounts of manpower to create the possibilities for strategic advances at the front, they have to regain much more numbers of tanks and armored vehicles, while the industry does not obtain enough capacity to product and to restore old Soviet tanks and vehicles that were kept at the stocks. So Russia is trying to find out whether they may achieve at once hundreds of military weaponry systems, especially artillery, tanks, armored vehicles, and we know that not too far ago Russians were trying to achieve some treaty with Sudan and receive from there tanks and armored vehicles. And until now, there is no credible sources on the results of these negotiations. But anyway, we are witnessing that North Korea may become a producer of weaponry for Russia, and it will cover the consumption of Russian forces for the months or even a year of the war in Ukraine, because at the stockpiles, at the stocks of munition stocks of North Korea, there were a huge amount of shells and mines that were prepared for the conventional conflict with South Korea. And now we are witnessing that North Korea is abandoning its strategy of conventional war with the South Korea in exchange of good deliveries and trade supplies from Russia, because of the starving situation in North Korean economy, which was heavily targeted by all the restrictions which were imposed since COVID-19. Because as we know, North Korea closed its borders, especially with China, and that deeply harmed local population that was involved in trade connections with their neighbors in China, and that slowed down North Korean economy. But under these negotiations, in exchange of supplies of the weaponry, the North will receive an opportunity to strengthen its economy and provide food supplies for its population.
I've got a question for all of you, whoever wants to answer this. It's just a question that's come to mind quickly whilst Volodymyr there has been speaking. Who is this agreement more beneficial to Russia or to North Korea?
To my mind, North Korea wins more, because it may receive new technologies, which the North is lacking for, to boost its missile program. The benefit for Russia may be receiving some goods, some gears that are restricted under the sanction. And that means that the regime in Pyongyang may help Russia to overcome the sanctions and even get some goods, some crucial technologies from China, which will be introduced into the military technical complex of Russian Federation. So both sides have their benefits, and it will take us time to figure out who will receive more, and that is a development situation. As we know, Kim Jong-un also received an invitation from Putin to come to Moscow. So we will have new developments of this split between two hazard kingdoms.
Amazing. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you for finding time today to come and speak to me about North Korea. Very topical at the moment, and a very busy week because of it last week as well. Lots going on at the moment in the Russian disinformation space. Thank you, guys, and until next time, speak to you soon.